Thanks for checking out Inside the Huddle with Three Rivers FCA. Here are your hosts, Andrew Hofer and Tom Sigel.
Welcome to Inside the Huddle with Three Rivers FCA. I'm Tom Sigel, Field Ambassador, along with Andrew Hofer, our Area Director. And for episode 8, we have a husband and wife coaching duo, Tom and Liz Green from Erie-Prophetstown, cross country and track, and excited for a unique perspective here on coaching as husband and wife. Andrew, it's we've got some questions I'm interested to ask and to get their feedback.
Yeah, really excited to hear from them. I know that they've been coaching for a long time and have a pretty unique perspective when it comes not only to coaching but to coaching together, which is it's not something that you normally see in our school. So a pretty unique perspective coming, and we're excited to hear from them. But even more importantly, they've been heavily involved with FCA at Erie-Prophetstown, I believe, since 1999. And so, just to be able to hear stories from them and from some of the students that they've poured into, some of the other coaches within the districts that they've served in. It's pretty powerful to hear the impact that they've made, not only through coaching, but through FCA.
Yeah, and I really, I have not known them very well other than kind of made acquaintance with them a little bit, but just people in those communities that I've talked to that know them speak so highly of all the work they've done there. So we're excited to come back and speak with and have some great conversation with Tom and Liz Green, the track and cross country coaches at Erie-Prophetstown.
Well, welcome back, everybody. We are excited tonight to have Tom and Liz Green, cross country and track coaches from Erie-Prophetstown, with us. So welcome, guys.
Thank you.
Thanks for having us on.
Yeah, you guys have been heavily involved in FCA, so we're excited to have you guys on and have seen the influence and impact you guys have had in both those communities. And so we're just going to hop right into it. And if you could start off just telling us a little bit about your coaching journeys and backgrounds.
Sure.
Okay. You want me to start?
Yes. You're the
Um,
interesting one.
not true. Okay. So, basically, my coaching started in the spring of '89. I did a mission trip and I was 2 weeks late getting into my second semester of college at Greenville. And so I had to stay home. So I got a job and worked, and I was quite bored. And I just asked my head coach, my former head coach, if he minded if I would come and hang out and volunteer my time. And he was all about it, said sure. And then, so that was a great spring. Then I went back to Greenville, graduated. Then I came back and got married in '91. And we lived in Prophetstown still, and asked if I could continue to volunteer coaching. And my job was very kind, and they let me do that. And Mr. Robinson had me back, and gosh, I think it's been ever since. Really, there was a couple of years where I took off, but so that was spring of '92 to present. So that was for high school girls track. Cross country, it started. We coached our middle school. We started the middle school program at EP in 2007, and we coached our oldest son for those 2 years. And then when he got to high school, we stopped. Just were parents for that time. But then the high school coach quit Josh's senior year, and so we prayed about that, and I'm like, this might be challenging. I don't know if I want to coach him while he's in high school. But we talked to him about it as well, and that started our cross country coaching. So that would have been fall of 2012, and we're still going. So there's that.
Well, that's awesome, and I appreciate you guys dropping in the comment about coaching your own children. So we've had plenty of conversations about that too. Yes.
Yes.
Well, she left out the good stuff too about her own athletic background. She's always very modest about that, but she was.
We want to hear it. Yeah.
But
The audience wants to know.
yeah. So yeah, I ran track all 4 years of high school, 2 years in middle school, but I was a sprinter, 100, 200, 400 relays. I have 4 state medals, and then I have 2 medals, state medals for coaching. Um, I've been blessed to have some amazing athletes over the years, and they make me look good for sure. But anyway, so yeah, there's
Yeah.
that.
Thanks, Tom, for making her share.
Oh yeah, of course. Yeah, I remember when I was in high school. She's a couple of years older, and she was away at college, and I had actually we met because I was dating her younger sister, but
Mm.
I was in English class, bored out of my mind, looking out the window, and here's this hot girl working out on the track. I figured out who it was. I'm with the wrong sister.
Oh, man.
Nothing against my sister-in-law. She's great too.
We're not going to ask any more questions about that.
Yeah, here we go. Mhm.
Let's just say God had a plan.
That's right.
There you
Yes.
Of course. So,
go.
mhm. Yep.
Okay. Well, when I was coaching at Rock Island, we were always in a Christmas tournament with North Chicago, and the Colemans was a husband and wife that coached the boys team, varsity assistant and assistant. The wife was his assistant, and I always kind of tried to ponder what that was like. So now we can ask the two of you, how is that coaching together, the challenges that come with that, and the positives from being able to share through the coaching experience?
Sure. How do you want to
Go
tackle
ahead.
that one? Well, there's a lot more positives than negatives. It's really nice to coach with your spouse. You get to talk about it all the time and kind of align your philosophies.
Yeah.
It's definitely a tag team situation, and that's really nice. Sometimes there's some breakdowns in communication, but for the most part, we're on the same page, and we have the same goal and the same heart, why we're there and what we're doing all this for. And it's nice to be able to just love on the kids unconditionally. We open up our home to them. They hang out here, and that's really good. I think some of the drawbacks of doing it together is that there's never an off switch. When we're in season 7 or 8 months a year, and between track and cross, and then in the summertime we've got our summer running program too. So there's very little time that we're actually away from the sport, and we can't escape it because we're locked in this house together, and that's
Mhm.
it becomes most of what you talk about, and that kind of thing. And I remember, geez, a month or two ago, I'm like, geez, I just want to have a conversation that's not about running. and and we love running, and we're passionate about it and all that stuff. But so I think that can be a drawback. So, you know,
Yeah, I coached our boys, and it was kind of one of those things you always hear coaches who coach their sons or daughters, leave it at the gym, don't bring it home.
right.
Sounds like it's really tough in this situation. Probably maybe tougher.
Yeah.
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 I will say though that it's nice in the fact that when you are getting ready to plan the whole week out, you have a general plan, but then when you get to the specifics and okay, what are we seeing in this athlete and how do we want to coach that? You don't have to give somebody a phone call or send an email or whatever. We're already here, and so we can get that covered and make sure that we can talk things out and we are on the same page about all of that. And I appreciate that. I appreciate that we are usually always on the same page and um we can talk things through, and the support of having each other's back has been wonderful as well. We haven't really had any issues, but and working with a lot of different coaches over the years, sometimes you're not always on the same page, and it can be challenging. So we don't we don't usually have that, which is
No,
great.
right?
Nice.
Well, transitioning a little bit, we've talked a lot with our guests about how coaching is a ministry. I truly,
Mhm.
Mhm.
truly believe that, and have heard some great perspectives on that. And I know that you guys have seen the tremendous impact within FCA on the students at EP.
Yeah.
Would you guys be able to talk about how you've seen God at work in the lives of the students that you've coached and been around through FCA at Erie-Prophetstown?
Yeah.
That's a
That
loaded
that could be a
question.
really long,
It
long
is.
answer, but no, that's good.
Yeah.
You want to start?
Um, well, I mean, yeah, how have we seen FCA specifically and impact the kids at school, and how does coaching kind of touch on that? And I think really when you talk about coaching as ministry, they really naturally go hand in hand, because at our church they talk a lot about ministry. Almost all ministry is relational, and you see that in the Gospels. Jesus spent a lot of time with the 12 disciples, and of those he had this inner circle of three, and it really is relational. And if you're just trying to do ministry, like a youth pastor, for example, and you're only touching these kids once a week or twice a week, it's so much harder to be in relationship, like to really get down to the brass tacks of who this person is, and they get to know who you are. It's tougher. But some of these kids, we were talking about it, if a kid is in cross and track, and maybe they go to the same church as us and are in FCA, we're having contact with these kids 10 or 12 times a week. And it's huge. And there's a cost to that, but it's extremely beneficial if you're trying to get to know them and trying to show your heart to them. And so they go hand in hand in terms of ministry. And
Mhm.
I think the outcome is obvious. Once a person starts to trust you, that you love them, and that's unconditional, then they start to open up, and they'll start to really listen to what you're saying about the gospel of Jesus Christ. Because so much of our culture, relationships are conditional, and it's ingrained into us, and it's an outcome-based relationship. Even with our parents, sometimes, as well-meaning as they are, if you behave a certain way, the message is, then I will love you. If I'm your coach, if I'm your basketball coach and you score 30 points a game, then I will love you. If you run a 50-second 400 for me, then I'll love you. You have to get past that and tell them that that's not the basis for my love of you or your worth as a human being. It's not this performance based thing. It's, you were created by the master of the universe with a specific purpose and a plan. And that's where your worth lies. And once people have to trust that. And that takes time. And it's not always easy. So
Yeah, and
that's why coaching is so great.
we talk all the time about how, yeah, and I think you said it perfectly because coaches, we spend more time with the athletes, especially in season, than they typically do with their families. And
Mhm.
so,
Yeah.
your team is a family just by the
Yeah.
Mhm.
sheer amount of time you spend together. And then not only that, like when you add in the dynamic of having Christ following leaders as coaches, man,
Mhm.
that can be such an impactful dynamic there because now you have the opportunity not only to pour into them athletically, but you're able to pour into them as people, pour into them spiritually, and really take that to a whole nother level.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
Yep. Um, hmm. We were trying to think today maybe of some of those kids over the years that we've had, and obviously it's been a long time. We started the FCA Huddle for Prophetstown in I believe it was 1999. And then we've been going since. Obviously, we've merged with Erie since we've co-opted all of our sports as well. But just trying to, go through and remember some of the kids that we've worked with as athletes and then also as FCA leaders or just as, student athletes in FCA. And that's been really fun to kind of look back and it's like, oh my gosh, there were some names that came to mind. One would be Keith Stewart. When Keith was a junior and senior in high school, he and his brother were there were times where they were the only two that would show up for FCA, but they were faithful to come and learn more about the Lord and about their relationship with Him, and always wanting to grow deeper. And then we got to see him go off and go to college, and then Keith came back and was a teacher in our district, and he actually coached with us as
Coach,
well.
yeah, right.
And then now he's moved on to become a principal, and it's really awesome to see all that God is using him for in his life and that he's been faithful to continue. Um Anybody else you want to
Well, I mean, we could name off so many.
yeah.
And I think the most rewarding ones are, like we were talking about this just this afternoon, it's real. Like the gospel is real and it's not an emotional response that these kids are having or a fad or something when it starts to spread. Like their parents start asking, what's going on with my kid? They woke up and is somebody different walking around eating their Cheerios this morning. What's going on? And then the dad and the siblings, and you see whole families begin to, their eternity looks different for them. And that's so rewarding. And I think of the Sandrock family, um, like Ethan Dobman, who graduated last year, his mom, and his brother. It's just real and genuine, and it's humbling too, because okay, this isn't because of something that we did or we're so good at coaching or ministry. It's, we were just there and said yes, and then God did all the rest. And it's very awesome to see.
Yeah.
So
I was we were talking about a situation that happened. It was actually Mother's Day of, I think it was last year. But one of my former athletes from way back, like 2000, 2001, uh, showed up at my church. And I was like, hey, how good to see you. What are you doing here? And we had kind of connected through social media, and I'd kind of seen some of her story and followed her through the years a little bit. But we just sat down and talked, and she just kept saying, Liz, I don't know how you were so patient with me. I was the biggest brat in the whole world when you coached me. And she said, I can't get over, how patient you were with me, and you just showed me that unconditional love. And she was a kid who lived a wild life and had no interest in the Lord whatsoever. But I was going through some struggles at the time. Just my dad got sick with cancer, and anyway, I had shared different things in my journey all along that way. And um, she said there were things that you said to me that, at the time I kind of thought about it briefly and brushed it off, whatever. And then her dad got cancer and he passed away, and it took her to the lowest low of her life. And she said, all of those things, so many of those things that you said to me during that time when you were coaching me, all flooded back. And she said, it all took me to my knees. And she said, I am now 100% following the Lord and have changed my life 100%. And I was like, that's like the best thing that ever could have happened. I mean, that's the whole goal of why you coach. You hope that the changes happen earlier, but 20 years later, I'll take it.
Yep.
To see her, yeah, the seeds, yeah, to grow and bear fruit. It's awesome.
Yeah. Well, and as we get more experienced, and you shared the year that you started coaching, so you aged yourself, but I'm right there with you, about the same. I think it might have been the same year, actually. But as we do that, I assume a lot of us start thinking, mentoring. And I know in our coaches huddle on Thursday mornings, I brought this up a number of times. We always said, man, I wish we would have had some of these discussions and I would have known this, when I was 23, 24 years old and starting out. So, is there advice that you would give to young coaches if you had the opportunity?
Sure.
I know,
Yes.
again, a loaded question, but
Yeah.
Oh,
things,
God.
we learn things along the way, obviously.
Yeah. I guess over the years, I would definitely um, say you definitely have to remember what's the whole reason and point of why you coach. What is your why? Are you there to try to make yourself look better, and it's all about the wins and how successful your athletes can be? Because if that's what it is, then it's going to be pretty heartbreaking. Um, but if you're there to build relationships with these kids and to actually get to see them and know them and love them and let them know they matter, then hopefully the deeper your friendship becomes, then you get to actually share Jesus with them. And, that's when you get to invite them to church and to youth group and FCA and FCA camp. And then even crazier, better things happen. And, but just to remember to have that perspective of what is your why you're doing it. And if it's for selfish reasons, that's not, you shouldn't be coaching, and that's not the right thing to be doing
Right.
it.
100%. Yeah, that was a fun kind of conversation starter for us too. Like, what would we do? And we actually have this opportunity for our, I think, on the track side, there's 2 girls that we coach that are assistants, and then we have on the cross, one of our former athletes is an assistant for us on cross. So it's something that we get to do every day. But um, I think one of the other things that we would tell them is, remember that it goes back to unconditional love. Like, listen, it's not about you, it's about them. And if we did an interesting study about love, and kind of the outcome or that we came up with was that what real love looks like is, in a nutshell, I become less, you become more. And the ultimate example of that was Christ. That's what he did. He was at the right hand of God at the throne. He humbled himself to become a man, to live as a carpenter, and to die uh, despised by all but a handful of his closest friends. And that's our example as coaches. We become less so that our athletes might become more. And I think the other thing that we would say is, to a young coach, is make sure you counted the cost, because nothing's free. What Christ did for us, our salvation, it's free to us, but somebody had to pay. Jesus paid. There's nothing free. And this life of ministry / coaching has a price too. And you have to be able to make sure you're willing to pay it. Um, we had pleasure. We know a lot of people, and it's like everybody wants the good stuff, but not everybody wants to pay the price of, it's a lot of late nights. It's a lot of time away from your family. It's being available. A lot of our athletes know that I'm, I don't sleep a lot. I stay up late, and they're not afraid to text me at 11:15 on a Wednesday night, because I'm probably up, and you got to be willing to respond to that. And that's because that's unconditional love. And again, that's the example we see Jesus. There were times he was so tired and he just wanted to go off and pray, and people would come to him. And I've never seen an example in scriptures where he turned anyone away. So how could we?
Right.
Yeah, I love that, and you guys have had the opportunity to pour into so many athletes over the years. I mean, I was trying to think about how many years and how many athletes you might have coached, but like it's hard to put it into a number.
Yeah,
Yes.
I mean,
And
God knows that all that matters. He's doing the work anyway. So
yeah. Well, and as the years have gone on, you know, I don't know that the students change, but like society has changed now, and our students are probably busier now than they've ever been before. There's just so many things that are they're involved in that they're doing, whether it's at school or out in the community or work or things like that. And so, for our burning question this week and our last one, and we've talked a lot about at different huddles this year about this, is how do you help your athletes to really slow down and live in the moment? Because they're always looking at their phones and what's next and what they're doing, and it's constant. We'll go from one thing to the next, and so I think it's a tricky thing for students and for you guys as mentors and coaches. How would you handle that with your athletes or your students that you're around?
Um, I mean, as a coach, and thankfully we're starting to see it more in the school, it's, put the technology away. Be present in the moment. We sometimes we get a little flack, but we're thankful that in cross country we can do a lot of the extras that other sports can't do. We can go take the bus and go run in the woods, and we can do extra excursions and go eat a meal together. Like, so Saturday
eat a lot.
practices in cross country, we try to leave Prophetstown or Erie and go somewhere else to run. And then afterwards we go to a restaurant and we all eat together, and the rule is no phones. So we make them have that connection with each other and build some of those memories and become more of a team and a family. Um, and that has helped. But I understand too that that's not always the case with, lots of sports can't necessarily do that. But we do take that extra time to have a bonfire in the backyard with the team, and it takes out a lot of our own personal time. Um, but it's worth it because you're investing in the lives of the young people. So
yeah.
Yeah,
Well,
I think
and
that
it's,
ties in really
I
well
mean, that's,
to what you said earlier about relationships.
go ahead.
S
Hmm.
I said I think that ties
Yeah.
in really well to what you guys were talking earlier when it comes to relationships being one of the key catalysts to successful coaching.
Hmm.
yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, it's the burning question. That's a great question, but it doesn't address every kid and every situation. Um, there are a lot of kids that are just as you described, that are involved in everything, and they're going from one activity to the next, to the next, to the next, and there's this constant obligation. Not every kid that we see is like that. Some of them are this moment is all that they ever think about.
Mm.
And so the problem for them is sort of the opposite. Sometimes you got to wake up and open your eyes and see the world around you. You are not the center of the universe. And you're right. Culture has changed over the years. Kids have changed in some respects, but the heart of man stays the same. And original sin is got us all. And the basic problem with everybody is that we're essentially super self-centered. And so a lot of what we do is to try to encourage people to see the invisible people around you. And to do that, you have to take your eyes off yourself
Mhm.
and look around. Um, and for some people, they've never done that. That is incredibly transformational, and it's fun to see kids do that. They really get a hold of that concept.
Yeah. We do the one bonfire, and it's tradition now that we sit in a circle and we go all the way around the circle and we put each person on the hot seat. And so everybody has things, nice things, or we think about attributes that we like about that person or what they do well. And the kids know it's coming, and they have to really think about, oh my goodness, I don't really know that person. And then so we challenge them with, if you don't know them, you need to get to know them. You know, you need to be paying attention to more than just your little friend group. You need to, be outside your comfort zone and notice them and get to know them. So it helps sometimes to do like little exercises or something where you force them to have to get to know each other a little bit. But anyway.
Yeah.
No, that's
Great stuff.
fantastic. So
Yeah. And I mean, we appreciate you taking the time. We've talked about time and your time and slowing things down. So we know that we wanted to be able to fit this in. We really appreciate it. And more than that, we appreciate all the students and athletes there at Erie-Prophetstown that you poured into over the years. And just really impressed to hear that. And I'm sure our listeners will as well, the great things that you've done. So we appreciate that.
Well, we really feel that we're the blessed ones,
Yes.
because wow, the kids that we've been blessed to be able to get to know and build relationships with over the years is just wonderful. And yeah, we're thankful.
Yes.
I'm
Indeed.
thankful to FCA as well. Wow.
Yep.
It's hard to believe, in 99 when we were challenged with the question, why not an FCA huddle in Prophetstown? And we looked at each other and said, yeah, why not?
Yep. That
And
was
it's been going ever since.
got to give a shout out to Mel Sage.
Yep.
That was
Yeah.
he
Mel,
played.
yep.
Mike
Yep.
Winkler. Yep.
Mike Winkler. Yep. Those two guys.
That was good.
well, thank you
Well,
so much
thank
for
you.
coming on, guys. We appreciate you, and keep up the good work, and keep pouring into kids, guys.
Thank you.
Thank
Yep.
you, guys. We appreciate you.
Yep. Appreciate
God
you as
bless you.
well. Thank you.
All right.
Well, it was a pleasure getting to hear from both Coach Greens, Tom and Liz Green from Erie-Prophetstown, and getting to hear their perspectives of not only coaching, but pouring into students spiritually through FCA, which they've done for years too. So really great to hear their thoughts on some of our questions today.
Yeah, I thought, sharing some of those personal experiences with students, that I think that we all have, especially when you don't know that you're necessarily getting through to them at the time, but they're listening, and then maybe it sinks in later. But also the fact of coaching together, and they talked about when they're at home. I think of my wife waiting, for dinner because I had something going on with coaching. Maybe that's something they don't have to worry about because they're together all the time. So, yeah, definitely an interesting perspective, but some great insight and the stories that they shared that were so impactful.
Yeah, and I appreciated the emphasis on relationships, and then as we got into the burning question, talking about how we're convincing students to slow down or encouraging them to do that, to really take time to live in the moment. It made me think of my own kids because they don't have cell phones yet right now. I have a twin 12-year-olds, and they think they think mom and dad are the worst people in the world sometimes because of that. But I think being able to put the phone down, put the technology down, and really have relationship with each other is a key to being able to slow down and live in that moment.
Yeah, I agree as well. And then Tom kind of mentioned too that what I thought he was going that way, and he went a little bit different direction. But how I think of a number of athletes I've coached that they kind of thrive with being busy, and it's sometimes the downtime is when the grades slip when they're not in a sport and those type of things. And so I think the structure can help, and I think he kind of touched on that as well. But that's what I always enjoyed. My daughter was a little more specialized with volleyball, but the two boys played other sports, and to me, they were busy, but it was healthy to them to switch sports and go to something else. And it's difficult. I think that society, we're gearing some kids to oh, we need to be in the cage hitting in December and throwing, getting on the mound and throwing and those type of things with both boys. I said, they'll be there when basketball's done, and it's just tough that it's just this rat race of chasing our tails a little bit on all this off-season stuff. And so I think that's difficult too, that to step back and try to enjoy it, because I know in our coaches huddle, I've said I was real guilty of, oh, we won this week, got to get ready for the next game. And if I had one piece of advice, like we talked about for young coaches, that I would give myself is enjoy it a little more, because losing is not fun, and I didn't enjoy the winning enough to offset how much I took, how poorly I took the losses. So there's a lot of ways.
Yeah.
I think that's a great question that you had this week that you came up with.
Well, I think it's a real delicate balance, because some of the worst people out there about living in the moment and slowing down are coaches. 100% guilty on that too, where it's always like, okay, all right, we won, but it wasn't good enough how we won. Or, I got to watch another hour of film because I might pick up on one thing. And working hard is biblical. It is what we're supposed to do. And there's nothing wrong with that. But when that becomes like an obsession, when that doing becomes an obsession, and we're not taking time to enjoy what we're doing and enjoy the gifts that God has given us, and then also taking that quiet time with Him, it's always going to fail. It always will.
Yeah. So yeah, I think of, without going into a long story, that we had a family vacation at one point, and I remember being on the plane when we got back into O'Hare and told my wife I didn't think about basketball for 4 days, and I don't know that I've ever done that. So
it is possible, Coach Sigel.
Yes.
So, well, thank you again, everyone, for joining us this week. It's been it was a pleasure hearing from both Tom and Liz Green, and we just encourage you guys to like or subscribe to us to our show on YouTube and Spotify. Continuing to put these out weekly, and hopefully we can continue to spread the word and continue to share the testimonies of our local coaches and athletes. All right, thank you so much, everyone, and looking forward to seeing you again next week.
Yep. Thank you.
Thanks for watching this episode of Inside the Huddle with Three Rivers FCA. If you have ideas for content or interview suggestions, just reach out to Tom or Andrew. Thanks again for checking out Inside the Huddle with Three Rivers FCA.